Are you ready to be inspired and empowered by the stories of a truly unstoppable woman? Then get ready for an exciting new episode of Unstoppable Women. I'm your host, Noelle Peterson, the Journey Navigator. Today, I'm going to chat with another remarkable and inspiring woman. In each episode, we feature a different guest who has overcome adversity and achieved amazing things in her career and in her personal life. Through authentic conversation, you'll learn about her struggles, journeys, and breakthrough moments that have helped her become the unstoppable woman she is today. Each guest brings a unique perspective and a powerful wisdom. You'll gain valuable insights into how to overcome challenges, break barriers, and thrive in your own life. You'll walk away feeling empowered, inspired, and ready to take action toward achieving your own goals. Thank you all for joining us today. Today we've got an amazing lady. Have you ever thought about having your story featured in the media? Angel Tuccy is an award-winning speaker, radio host, TV producer, and 15-time best-selling author. With her help, clients have been featured in thousands of major media publications, including television, radio, podcasts, magazines, and stages. She helps you become the number one authority in your niche by featuring you on top distribution channels. Angel was awarded the Most Influential Woman of the Year, and her top-selling book, Get Discovered, is a how-to example for creating media exposure. She runs the best online group for finding guests and getting booked, and she has personally hosted over 2,500 radio broadcasts and interviewed over 5,000 guests. Her clients call her the media matchmaker. Welcome, Angel.
Oh my gosh, Noelle, thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here today.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And I know you've been across the country and around the world doing your thing. And I know you started here in Colorado. So tell us a little bit about who Angel is and how you got to be the media specialist you are.
Well, thank you so much. Right now, currently, I reside in Orlando, Florida, but for most of my life, I lived in Denver, Colorado. I went to high school there after my dad had relocated, got married, raised my children, lived in the same house for 20 years. And then 2.5 years ago, we decided to, my husband and I, who we've been married now for 30 years, we decided to sell that home that we raised our kids in and chase our kids halfway across the country. All 3 of my adult children work at Disney World here in Orlando, Florida. So we came down here to be closer to them.
That's awesome. And you started in radio. So tell us a little bit about how you got started, but that transition and what that was like for you as a growing entrepreneur and woman and mother, making that change.
Yeah, I would love to. It was interesting when I started in broadcasting. I started with a podcast. I had a friend of mine, a co-host of mine. We started doing a podcast once a week because back in 2008, it was all the rage. If you had a cell phone and an internet connection, you could host your own podcast. And we actually hired somebody to help us to produce our podcast professionally. He had a studio in his basement, and we would go there every week and produce our podcast. And after a few months, our show got discovered. So getting discovered is not just my mantra, it's my story. And we were discovered by our local radio station and invited to start hosting a daily talk show on the radio. Now, mind you, I had never been in broadcasting. I had no background in broadcasting. In fact, my high school teacher of my speech class, I took a public speaking class in high school. In fact, I almost didn't graduate high school because I couldn't pass my public speaking class. I was so nervous to sit in front of my audience or my peers, stand in front of them, and even describe how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But one of the exercises we had to do was go into our high school radio studio booth and just read from a piece of paper into a microphone. And I couldn't do it. And my teacher said, Angel, you will never have a career in broadcasting. Now, I was 17 years old. I didn't want a career in broadcasting. I was super shy, incredible stage fright. And yet here I was, 35 years later with my own daily radio talk show. broadcasting across, actually, we ended up nationally syndicated across all of the country, from San Francisco to Washington, D.C., all along the I-70 highway corridor, if you're familiar with road tripping. And I had that wonderful career for over 10 years. And in fact, by the time I left broadcasting, I was then hosting two 2-hour daily talk shows, our Positive Business Talk Show, and then a second Christian lifestyle show. So I was hosting 4 hours of talk radio by the time I left my career in broadcasting 5 years ago.
That's a lot of talking, going from somebody who didn't like talking in speech class. And I totally understand and get that, because I avoided everything I could. And I actually did Maymester speech in college to get it over with.
Did you? Yeah, it is. I remember my first day in the radio studio. I took my headphones off and thought, this is what I want to do. All of a sudden, because there was nobody staring at me, I didn't have the stage fright. I didn't have the butterflies. My notes were in front of me. We went to commercial break, every 8 minutes or so. And I loved it. Very first day, I said to my host, I said to my producer, I want to be the number one talk show in America. Like, that was my focus and my goal for the next 10 years of broadcasting. And we actually made it in Colorado. We were named, award-winning morning show, top show host. Like, we won all sorts of awards for our program. And it was a very exciting career until it wasn't. And so, we kind of hit a snag. We changed studios and just ended up in a really toxic environment. And so it was really awesome until it wasn't. And then one day I walked into the studio and they said, Angel, we've made a change. Handed me my cardboard box. I packed up my disco ball, which was actually packed up sitting behind me. And they pulled us from broadcasting like 5 minutes before we were due to go live on the air. And I had one of those moments, right, where you get to make a decision, and everything seemed to be falling out from underneath me, right? My whole career was falling out from underneath me. The business partnership that I had at the time was unraveling. We decided because of that to close the business and partnership that we had put together. And so really, I was just a candidate for Ben & Jerry's ice cream and Netflix binging, right? Like, there was nothing left. My kids had moved out, or at the same time, they had decided they were going to move to Florida. So I was also becoming an empty nester. My husband and I were in that really delicate frame of our marriage where it could have gone either way. And I mean, it could have been a very different story. Yeah. But decided to hitch my wagon and become a public speaker, of all things, right? Like me, of all things. I asked my husband, I said, take me away. I have to get out of town. I just have to clear my head and just make some decisions. And, like, when you have everything in front of you, you think that's so freeing. Like, I can do anything I want. We can go anywhere. We can have anything. But it was really paralyzing because there were too many decisions to make. Right. Yeah. What do I want to do? So I decided to start as a public speaker, teaching organizations and small business owners how to get booked in the media, how to do their own PR, what really happens when you pitch to a radio show, how do you promote your books, and discovered I had 10 years experience in that space. And at the time, there wasn't anybody in the public speaking world that had been on the inside and was also teaching media and PR. Lots of people had done it for themselves and kind of discovered their way and were teaching what they had learned, but nobody that had actually been on the inside career of broadcasting was now teaching that. And so I was a unicorn in the space, and for the next 3 years, it really served me well.
Yeah, I mean, you are definitely a unicorn, and the skills that you have and the passion you have for it. And I think I want to talk a little bit about how that passion you have for you and the desires and that make you get up in the morning, and how having that goal of being the number one and helping people now in the transition, how has that goal in front of you, having set that sight high, helped you reach those goals?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. Well, Noelle, I have to tell you, I just came home late last night. Our flight landed at midnight. I just came home from Disneyland. Even though we live practically at Disney World, my kids work at Disney World, and we can go to Disney World anytime we want. for our birthday celebrations. The kids wanted to go to Disneyland. We hadn't been there for 10 years. And so we got home late last night. But being around people who have those big visions and big dreams, and Walt Disney was one of them, right? As we're sitting there, it's the 100-year anniversary of Disney, and seeing how here's this man who sat on a park bench and had an idea to bring adults and children together at a park that they could play together. And now what it has absolutely turned into, those kinds of stories absolutely inspire me. Here today, we might just be thinking, you know what? I think I want to help organizations get booked on the radio. I just want to show them how to do that, right? Like what's the opportunity and really how to get themselves featured in the media and the benefit of that. Like it's just kind of just this little idea, right? But what we think is ordinary is magic to other people. And so showing up every day, even though I got in at midnight last night, our flight landed at midnight, got home, got into bed at 1, got back up at 6 o'clock this morning because my husband needed to take a flight back out this morning. And yet, here I am showing up for you, Noelle, to share this story. What inspires me is the impact that I know, like the only way I can fail is by giving up and quitting. But if I show up every single day, and maybe I don't show up for myself, but I show up for my family, I show up for my clients, I show up for the possibility of what this can turn into. And what it has turned into now in the last 3 years is one day I was on a podcast. Actually, it was like a virtual summit. I was on a virtual summit and it was full of media and PR guests, right? And so they were asking all of us pretty much the same questions. How do you connect with journalists? How do you get in the media? What's the best way to do a pitch? All the standard stories. And because most of the other folks in media and PR had just they had not been on the inside, one of the answers was to send, there's a pretty popular PR site at the time that people were familiar with for how you could connect with media and journalists. And it was kind of the only game in town if you weren't on the inside. And so here was this woman, she was in PR and she's like, here, go to this site. And something triggered for me, Noelle, as I'm listening to her. I'm thinking, you've got just 5 minutes on a stage, like to answer questions. And why would you send them to somebody else's castle? So right there, like I just had this thought, like, don't send them to somebody else's castle, keep them in your castle. So right there, while I'm smiling, and here's my trick for smiling on camera when you're not talking, is to rest your tongue right behind your front 2 teeth. It'll keep the pressure off of your jaw so you can keep smiling even when you're not talking. So here I am smiling, got my tongue right behind my teeth, and I go off the screen, actually still on screen, but I pull up a kind of another tab on my screen, and I decide I'm going to create my own media matchmaking site, how to connect journalists with guests and how guests can connect with journalists. And so I went and I bought the URL, and then I went into Facebook and I started a group. And so when they got to me, they said, Angel, how do what's the best way you have found for people to connect? And I said, I've started my own matchmaking site. It's a free Facebook group. This is where you go to connect. And that was 3 years ago, Noelle. We just crossed over 27,000 members inside of that Facebook group. It was only at 10,000 back in September. It is the fastest growing online community for media to connect with each other. It is the fastest growing. It is the most engaged. It is the best online. And since then, it has we've opened up some new things that have come out of it just in response to that just whimsical idea that I had on the fly, listening to somebody else, thinking, how would I do it better? And so if every day we just wake up and think, how can I do today better than I did yesterday? I think that keeps me excited. And that's where my enthusiasm comes from. I know that was a long-winded answer. I apologize for that.
No, you're fine. It's exciting to hear how Need to Get Started, because it is a very vital part of our community now. And I'm not sure how podcasters and speakers do life without it. It is where you go.
It is now the go-to place. Anytime I meet somebody, when I talk about it, they're like, oh, that's you. I'm in that group, right? I didn't know that was you. And so it's been really exciting to watch it grow and to see the success of it. It's a beast, right? Running a group with 25,000 people around the globe, right? Because it's 24 hours, it's nonstop. But we've had some growing pains and some learning curves to get through that, but we've managed that. And just a week ago, we decided to add value to that group. And also, you don't want to have all of your eggs in Facebook's basket, right? Because the algorithms and the rules are constantly changing. So we decided to create another portal to connect even deeper, to have more discussion, to bring people together. We opened it up about a week ago, well, last Monday, so 10 days ago. We have about 540 people have already enrolled into our community. And it is totally taken off. It beyond my wildest dreams of that first week of activity. Over 200 discussions have been started, and it's gamified, so you can win prizes as you level up. And honestly, and my new business partner, Jamie Atkinson, who helped me to come in a few months ago just to help streamline and manage the back end of that Need a Guest group, because again, 25,000 people is a big beast to carry. We put all these prizes and these awards together for each levels. And honestly, Noelle, we thought people would take months to get like to level 5 and level 6 and right. And in like day 4, they were already hitting these levels. And I won't lie, we're freaking out a little bit. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to deliver. And at level 8, which like there's like 6 people halfway there, they win a free trip to my media mastermind in Mexico. So I'm like, okay, well, some lessons are a little more expensive than others to learn. but you just jump through the hurdles as they come.
Launch and adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were. I will say, my husband and I are in your community, and we were walking through and looking through those. And his goal the very first day was to make that next step. He's like, I have to get to level 3. I'm like, why? He's like, I have to. That's what you have to do.
That's what you have to do. Yes, and you can see, like, they're like, I have to get to level 5. I have to get to level 6. I'm like, well, it'll still be there. I promise. I promise. Like, you don't have to rush through it. And so my calendar, like at level 5, you get a free coaching call. You get a free one-on-one coaching call with me. And I've been on vacation, so I haven't really been managing my calendar and watching it. I have 8 back-to-back calls scheduled for tomorrow, Noelle. I looked at that this morning. I got a headache just looking at it. I'm like, okay, all right, vitamin C and hydrate.
Yeah, we learned a lesson a while back with the podcast schedule to minimize how many of those types of calls you can have in a day, because they do.
Yes, that's what I went in and made that quick little adjustment, right? And again, launch and pivot, launch and learn, because you won't figure out these things on the backside. You can stay in, data and kind of a discovery, like figuring it all out. But the best way to figure out almost everything is really to jump in and do it and shift. And so we've actually started a whole new program, Jamie and I, and we brought in a handful of new students as our case study, letting them know there are going to be some tweaks. Like, we're still building it as we go. The automation for the welcome letter hasn't been set up yet. Like, we're telling them, but you're part of our case study. You got it as a discount to help us to pivot and grow so that we can launch it and get it to market. Because if you can get it to market, then you can figure out, as long as you got the team behind you and really the right community in front of you, that you've created the demand, you've created the clientele, and you've set expectations, we know we can deliver on the fundamentals. And so it's just making sure that how we deliver and that the emails are right and the links all work and the automation goes, like all of that can all be sorted out as you go.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of value in learning to launch. We see so many entrepreneurs that get stuck in perfectionist. I have to figure this out. I have to do this, this, and this before I can go there.
Yes.
No, just do it.
Oh, that's the scariest thing, I think, for when we start talking media exposure. I get people that say, I have to have it all figured out. I have to have my programs. I have to have my website. I have to have, like everything all done first. I'm like, nay. Exposure comes first. Like, create the demand, build your list, go out and start talking about it. As long as you have a way to collect data, like first party data, an email campaign or a squeeze page or some kind of job form or form that fills out, like a Google form that gets you their email address. As long as you've got that on the front side, go out and start sharing your stories, go out and start creating that impact and get your message out into the world. I remember, years ago when I was still in broadcasting and radio, there was a woman named Candace Payne who had the very first video to go viral on Facebook with over 1 million views. And she was the woman who put on that Chewbacca face mask. And she was the laughing mom, right? When she opened her mouth and she would laugh, and she had this darling laugh. And she was just so full of joy. And here was this video, the very first video that ever hit 1 million views on Facebook. And so she had this incredible lift, this incredible campaign. Everybody knew about her. Everybody was talking about her. She was on all the news networks. And yet she didn't have any way to capitalize on any of that exposure. Right? There was no call to action. There was no way to opt in. There was nothing. And then, of course, the social media trolls, anytime her videos started to get anything subsequent after that, started to get some lift, they would just kind of just cancel her out. And so I tell people, like, don't be the Chewbacca mom, right? Go and have your call to action, have an opt-in, have it on everything, even your Uber app, right? Like, everywhere I go, my face is the same, the opt-in is the same. And so I can, one way into my castle everywhere you go. And now we've kind of added some other streams with the Facebook group, but they all lead to the same place. And so exposure first, figure out all the other stuff as you're creating the visibility, create the demand, build up your audience, build up your following. So when you are ready and you have something to sell, you have them lining up around the corner to do that.
Yeah, you're selling you and who you are. People got to know you.
Yes. Yes. I think that was part of the success of this, the launch of our new premium community was, we'd been talking about it for a couple of months and, just piquing interest, letting people know it was coming, creating the excitement, giving them an application form, and letting them know it was being built on the backside. So then on day one, when we opened with over 400 members, just right out of the gate, it was far better than, put 1 or 2 people in and like squeaking along to grow it. And so there isn't any enthusiasm and energy and excitement. Go ahead and build the demand and build the anticipation, get them into your funnel, get them into your systems. And, then when that course is ready and that program is ready and the book is ready, now you've got people that are just excited to be a part of what you've created.
Well, and if you've got them in a community, you also can learn from them, right? To see what they want and what they need and what they're asking for.
For sure. Like, they are your focus group, right? Yeah, they'll tell you what they want. I promise you. People are very vocal.
All right. So give us some tips and tricks to help women today become amazing, unstoppable women as you have.
Oh my gosh, right? As you read and listen to the bio, and I've interviewed over 5,000 people, over 2,500 broadcasts. I built this amazing, community. We've done it multiple times, 15-time best-selling author. Like, as you say all those things, I think, who is that woman? Like, I get out of bed every morning. I want to hang out with my family. I want to be a good wife. I want to just take care of my customers. Like, I'm just doing the do. And then when you hear the introduction of the bio, it reminds me, like, I started at day one, right? And so just starting at day one, and taking the next step every day, just taking one baby step closer to your goals. There was a time, I remember staying in the kitchen and my husband, I rattled off all of the things I was going to do today. I'm very busy. And my husband, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing all this. And as I said it out loud to him, all the things that I was doing, I realized that not one of the things that was on the list that day had anything to do with my goals. Not one. They were active, they were busy, but my top 3 goals, like my main big, like this is what's going to move the needle forward, these were just busy things. And for me, Noelle, I get really, like, this is a lesson I have to learn over and over again, it seems. Like my calendar fills up with busy. And even as I'm partnering with Jamie and he's like, Angel, when are we going to do this? I'm like, my calendar's busy. But really looking at the calendar and look at your goals, right? What are the action steps you need to look at your goals or to achieve your goals? And then look at your to-do list and look at your activity over the last 3 to 7 days. And are they in alignment? Because our habits are what get us to our goals. Or for me, like, it's really easy to drift. And I can find myself drifting. Like, that's my natural habit. So I have to be very disciplined. Like, these are the goals that I have. These are the action steps. So every single day, 3 action steps that are going to get me closer to my goals. The other stuff is the fillers. Like, you've probably heard the story about the rocks, right? The guy with the jar of rocks, and he puts in all the little rocks, right? And he's got these big rocks, and there's no room for the big rocks if he puts the little rocks in first. Right. But if you take your 3 big rocks, right, and put them in your day, schedule those first, make time for those first, make those a priority, then all the little rocks can kind of fall in and filter in around the big rocks. And you'll start to find that maybe some of the things might easily be delegated. You actually could delete them, right? You don't have to do them at all. They could go away. But as long as every day I'm looking at my top 3 goals, moving me closer and staying accountable to somebody else, it's going to make sure that I'm not drifting. Like, that's probably my number one, like, success, is letting my calendar, like, deleting things off my calendar, managing my calendar. The second thing is just aligning with people, right? That'll stretch you, that are a little further along than you are. I've hired a lot of coaches. I've got some incredible mentors, but even my friends and the people I associate with, like, they stretch me to just do a little bit better, right, than I did the day before. So just the people you hang out with is critical. And if you've got the naggers and the whiners, right? I mean, even just this week, like, I just, there was a couple of people that I'm like, okay, that was an absolute time suck, right? How did I do that? Okay, note to self, when this person calls, right, send them to voicemail. Another thing too is I don't take unscheduled calls. All my calls go to voicemail pretty much, right? Every now and then I'll pick up from somebody I think is worthwhile if I'm not on a phone call. But the third thing would be to play and just to have fun, because this thing of being an entrepreneur or being life, it'll just kick the teeth right out of your mouth, whatever the phrase is, right? It's hard. It's hard, and it can be cruel sometimes. And so making sure that you're having fun and you're just enjoying life and finding things that bring you joy every single day, right? I mean, the coffee mug, right, like, should bring you joy, right? What's in the coffee mug should bring you joy. What you look at around your desk should bring you joy. I remember one time I was just feeling overwhelmed because we were growing so fast and we were onboarding a lot of clients. And I was starting to feel a little overwhelmed. So I made a list of all of my clients. And at the top of the list, it said blessings, right? Like, these are my blessings. This is what I've asked for. This is what I'm shooting for. This is my goal. And so reminding myself, like, to shift my mindset, like, I'm not busy. I'm not overwhelmed. These are the blessings, and I get to serve these people. So yeah, manage your goals and your daily activity, hang out with really awesome people, and make sure you have a lot of fun.
It is important to enjoy what you're doing. It doesn't do any good if you're doing all this work, even though you may enjoy the work, if you're not taking some time to enjoy the life that you have.
Yeah, we moved to Florida 2.5 years ago, and we bought a house with a swimming pool. We're right next to Orlando, or to Disney World. And I thought, I've got to get a manage on what I'm doing, because I've got this lifestyle that we moved down here for. This lifestyle. People come here all the time on vacation. So we're always on somebody's vacation, right? We're going out to dinner, going to the parks, and having a good time. And so really creating systems that you can, like, turn off sometimes, like turn off your phone. My son said, Mom, how long do you think you could go without your phone? I said, well, I turn it off for 12 hours every day, right? 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. And then I try to keep it at arm's distance, during the weekends. So like just to give yourself a break. Because here's the thing with media, it's like a faucet. We can turn it up when we need more and we can turn it down, right? When we're overwhelmed, or just to keep the flow going. And I tell everybody 2 interviews a week, 1 press release a month is like a beautiful system for visibility and attraction, growing your business and your brand, becoming the number 1 authority in your niche. But then that gives you so much more time to serve your valuable clients, get a grip on your schedule, enjoy life, and just have the time of your life, because this is all we got.
It is all we got. How can people find you?
Oh, fantastic. So can I tell them about the Facebook group?
Yeah, of course.
Well, we do have this incredible Facebook group. If you want to get booked on more podcasts, or if you need guests for your podcasts, it's online at Need a Guest. You can go to needaguest.com. It'll take you right to the Facebook group. You can punch in your email and you'll get on, letting into all the fabulous things that we're doing, including our new premium community network. Or you can skip that step if you haven't, if you've already gone to Need a Guest, and go to Get Premium for Free. That's getpremiumforfree.com. That'll get you right into our networking community. And then we have all sorts of fun prizes and goodies for you there.
Awesome. Yeah. Great communities.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them. Noelle, thank you, right? Both to you and Robert, like for just jumping in and being a part of it, being the pacemakers. You two are incredible leaders. You guys are doing amazing things. I'm watching what you guys are doing as well. You're bringing people in truly, like, to have the topic of unstoppable women. You are leading by example, Noelle. And so I just love what you're doing. And thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your broadcast.
Thank you so much. It's been great having a chat, and we look forward to many, many more conversations. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Are you an entrepreneur or business owner? If so, you need to know about the Achieve Systems Business Building Membership. We are one of the best referral-based communities that wants to refer you. We help generate you thousands of leads per year. We also provide you an incredible mentorship program that has won many awards. We don't stop there. We have 60+ opportunities to take your business to the next level, like authoring and publishing books, and many, many more. Go to achievesystemspro.com and get started today.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and a huge thank you to our guest for sharing her wisdom, experience, and insight. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to have her on the show. The incredible stories and achievements of the women we feature on this podcast are not just inspiring, they're a call to action. They remind us that we are capable of achieving anything we set our minds to. I encourage you to take that first step toward realizing your dreams and living your best life. Don't wait for permission. Believe in yourself. And if you're looking for support and guidance on your journey, I invite you to join me. Text WOMEN to 55444 to learn more about how I, your Journey Navigator, can help you unlock your full potential. Remember, you are unstoppable. Let's make big things happen together.